Dave, I'm going to give you the floor. Start out and let us know what you got going on this week. And then everybody, Dave is a mesh dealer with Seed Studios. These things are cool. And these, the one particular device was all the talk and rage at Hamvention. Absolutely. There it is right there. Dave's got it in his hand. It's a Meshtastic node that's the size of a credit card. A little thicker than a credit card, but as far as the width and the length, it's the same size as a credit card. Fantastic device.
Cool.
So, Dave, let us know.
My buddy picked one up. He absolutely just loves it.
That's all I'm hearing. That's all I'm hearing about them.
They're awesome. We sold 30 of them at Huntsville. So yeah, I'm the mesh dealer. Still trying to get over Huntsville. It was a blast. We got up there Tuesday. I did my presentation on Wednesday. Then Thursday and Friday I was selling mesh out of the parking lot, which was kind of fun. Then we had the show and completely sold out. So I have very little to kind of show off because we sold everything. But yeah, the big hit is our T1000. Depending on where you buy it right now, at the show we were selling them for $50, but they're $34 on the website, but you have to pay shipping and taxes. They're $60-ish when they're on Amazon. But yeah, so I work for Seed Studios, sort of. I'm not an actual employee of Seed Studios. I am what they call a ranger, basically an ambassador for Seed Studios with Meshtastic and Ham Radio. But yeah, what do you guys want to know? I don't know with your viewers what they know about Meshtastic, what they don't know about Meshtastic, what they want to know about Meshtastic, and I'm just here. Excuse me.
The whole rundown. I don't understand Meshtastic
That's
well
what-
enough.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go to an elementary level. Let's think about somebody that's never heard about it, doesn't have a clue doesn't have a clue what it does, and then build your product on top of it.
All right. So
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
That's what I was just about to ask, but Josh already answered my question. I was going to ask you, what is Meshtastic? Because I had no clue, but Josh already took care of it. So go ahead, sir.
All right. So bear with me. My voice may be a little cracky. I'm going to be drinking a lot of water. They're burning cedar, and I'm downwind, and my allergies are going nuts. So Meshtastic is off-grid, decentralized messaging and location sharing. It uses the 900 megahertz ISM band, and it's under a watt, so it's license free. Anybody can use it, and it uses devices which I like this, or like this, or like this, or a myriad of other devices. There's probably 40 different things you can use, and they're all repurposed IoT and LoRaWAN devices. Because they use the same chipsets, either an ESP32 or an NRF chipset to do the communication. So basics of Meshtastic is you have a radio, right? It pairs to your phone. So with an app, the app is only Bluetooth to your phone as an interface for the device. All the radio and all the hard work and everything is done here. It's just an interface so you can use it, because some devices don't have screens or buttons. So you Bluetooth on your phone. It uses a mesh network and digital spread spectrum technology to send bursts of data. So, and the basic is you have two radios. You've got me and my buddy Pat, and we can't hit each other because we're too far away. It uses a mesh network. So this is Bob. And so my message will get broadcast out. Bob will pick it up, rebroadcast it, and Patrick will get it. And then back and forth the other way. And when you have a huge network like we do in San Antonio now, I can actually get about 70 miles from my house to the other side of town. Now for the questions, because I know that started turning gears in your head.
Well, I can see one already in the chat. How do I get started? Bob asked KM7ARX. Appreciate you watching.
Buy a device. I started out, I was the first person to play with Meshtastic in my county, and you buy a device. If there's established a mesh network already, immediately once you set your name and your LoRa region, the map will start to populate, and you'll get a list of people out there and just start sending messages. I mean, it's super simple. So simple enough that my ex-wife can use it on her phone. But yeah, it buy a device. I suggest now, not just because I sell Seed Studio devices, give you a little background on how I got where I'm at now. We had the big freeze, and I was looking for, we were without power for about 18 hours at a hilt, on for about 2 hours, off for 18 hours, on for 2 hours. No cell phone, no internet, no nothing, no power. And at the time, I wasn't licensed, so I had no means of communicating with the outside world. Since then, I got my license. Well, I started seeing all these videos about Meshtastic, and I'm like, man, let's see if this will work out here. So I bought a device, and there was nothing. And I was just staring at my device going, okay, I've got a device. So then I bought a second device so I could talk to myself. That was kind of weird. But then I was like, hey, let's see what we can do. So I got my buddy Patrick, and I built a solar node. He built a solar node, and this was back when it was, you had to buy a board, you had to build a case, you had to buy a battery, you had to buy an antenna, you had to piece it all together. So he built a solar node, put it at about 35 feet. I built a solar node, put it at about 35 feet. And we were able to communicate at about 15 miles apart. Now, we both had high gain antennas, and it was up high, but I was like, hey, that works. So then we built another one, put it on our club repeater tower, and then we built another one and put it on a buddy's tower. And then we have these 4 devices throughout the county that could, see one could see 2. Each one of them could see 2 devices, but we could actually send messages around. That's when we started looking at, okay, we've got kind of county coverage. I'm the vice president of our ham radio club. Patrick's the president. I'm also the county liaison for Texas Department of Emergency Management. And I was like, I wonder if we could use this for emergency management. It's encrypted. It's license free, because one of our radio teams that we utilize for emergencies is actually the GMRS guys. So they can't use APRS, but they can use this. And we started trying to figure things out, but everything had a compromise. It had a 3D printed case that would melt on the dash of a truck in Texas, or, you had to build all this stuff together. And then Seed Studios came out with this guy, and I got on the pre-order list. I was one of the, I guess one of the first people to get one, and it was perfect. It's waterproof. It beeps at you when it lets you know when it has a message. It's got about a 2-day battery life. So we bought 5 of them, right? And then we started trying to use them during events, whether it be like a big fire or a parade or whatever. And I'd pull up MeshSense, which is a program by Affirmatech. It's free. Just have to download it. Same guys that make N3FJP. And now at an event, I can hand these out to the guys and see on a map where everybody's at. And I was like, well, this is sweet, because now I can see where all of my operators are at without actually having to talk to them. Now we do health and welfare checks exclusively over Meshtastic. I can send a message out, and anybody who's been in income, when you do a health and welfare check, if you got 20 guys out in the field, it could take 20 minutes to try and get each one, because one guy's standing on the corner talking to a pretty girl, ignoring his radio. Another guy bumped his VFO and is on a different channel. Now I can send a health and welfare check. This beeps, their phone beeps, they answer back, and it frees up 15 minutes of airtime that we can actually use the radio for an event or an emergency. Then they came out with the HasCom kit, and they sent an email out to everybody who had purchased anything and said, hey, we're going to develop a HasCom kit. We'd like people to help. I sent Seed Studios an email about how we were using this device. And next thing you know, I've got a meeting with Eric, the CEO of Seed Studios. our emergency management coordinator and a representative from Texas Department of Emergency Management. And he gives me one of their MCOM kits and a handful more. So now we have a dozen of them that we hand out. That they started coming out to our events to see what we were doing, because this was a different aspect of Meshtastic that they'd never seen. One of the representatives asked me if I'd like to be an ambassador for Seed Studios, and I said sure. And this year I've gotten to go to all 3 major ham fests and talk about Meshtastic. But so there's a history behind this device where I tell everybody that this is the device to start out with. It's not the best. It doesn't have an external antenna. It doesn't, have the range of something that does. It doesn't have a high gain antenna, but best bang for your buck. I mean, sub $50. It's waterproof. Dude tested, which I guess he was ham radio dude. Dude tested.
Ham
Did a
radio,
test
yeah.
on this.
Yeah, he
Ran
tested
it over.
it.
Yeah, ran over it with his truck, threw it out of his truck window, hit it with a pressure washer, and it still worked. So,
Hey, Dave.
yes, sir.
We got a question in the chat, and it's from KFV40G. He said, "Will it work without internet?"
Yes, that's the whole point. Is there is no internet involved at all. Your phone can be on airplane mode with the only thing that has to be turned on is Bluetooth, and that's because there is a Bluetooth connection between the device and your phone, so that your phone acts as an interface, right? And so you're able to send messages. You're able to see everybody who's on the network. You can even see a map of everybody that's on the network, which that's kind of washed out, but you can see a map. So this can be, you could go buy a dummy phone as long as it's got Bluetooth and you can download the app to it. At that point, the only thing that's being used is the Bluetooth as an interface for this, so that you can do all the stuff and things to be able to talk to people, change the configuration, and utilize the device.
Helps to unmute the mic.
Quick question, Dave.
Yeah.
What version firmware are those units using?
This one's actually got an alpha version that
The credit
testing.
card.
The latest beta.
Is it?
Yeah. Meshtastic is constantly evolving. So
Yep.
that's one thing you are going to have to do is periodically update the firmware on the device. I don't know out of the box. They try and put the latest firmware, but it kind of depends on when this was made in the manufacturing process, at what version. But it does come preloaded with Meshtastic, and it'll work right out of the box. I always tell everybody, check the firmware, update the firmware, because they're constantly adding functions and features. An example is, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, AA4OL asked a few minutes ago, what do these cost? And you can probably give me a better range, but I know anywhere from $50. I've seen them to $150, $250.
So yeah, it depends on who makes it. Everything from Seed Studios except for our P1 Pro is sub $100. Most of them, this guy, not in this case. This is a case that I had AliCat design for me, but like this device is $43. This, depending on where you buy it, if you order it through the website, it's $34, and then you pay shipping. At the ham show, we were selling them for $50, so $50. Everything Seed Studios is sub $100, and the only reason why the P1 Pro solar node is $105 is the tariffs kind of beat them up when they were shipping them over, so they had to up the price a little bit.
Yeah, I saw that because I went to go buy it and I waited, and it was $89. I waited. The next day I went back and it was $105, and I went, well, tariffs struck already. Yep.
And that's they're playing the tariff game. They're trying to move as much inventory from China to the California warehouse so that they can kind of, the more they ship at once, the tariff kind of goes from individualized tariff on a device to a containerized estimated value of the tariff. So they're trying to play that game, and they're eating a lot of the tariff cost. But they can only eat so much, and then they have to pass it on.
Yeah, you can't be in business and not profit. As much
Yeah.
as we wish that wasn't the case, that's just the reality of business. And with tariffs
I can
being
tell
the
you
way
this:
they
I
are,
wouldn't be eating the tariffs.
No.
That one tastes nice, right?
No.
It's not enough barbecue sauce for that.
Yeah.
it tastes like about like $100 bill on a G string from a strip club.
Right.
God, you have to put that into my head. You need help. Oh.
Anyway, are those? I know those aren't the only two devices. Do you have any others that you wanted to show off?
We have. If I could share my screen, I had to pull up the
Please.
webpage because, like I said, we sold everything, so I have to go off the pictures. Share screen. Okay, that's the tips. I want to go window. That one. Let's close that.
There it
All
comes. There you go.
There we go. So we have the solar node, right? It's really great. It's got a 5-watt solar panel, 4 18650 batteries. It's got the NRF chipset, which is actually this little itty bitty guy on the inside of it, and then a board that does all the processing and everything. Underneath at the bottom, all your user buttons and USB port and LEDs are all visible from the bottom of the device, so you can actually see it from the ground and what it's doing. Like I said, it's $100 ish for the loaded one. I think the 104. If you go without the GPS and battery, $70. And I tell everybody that you don't necessarily need the biggest bang for the buck. You don't need the GPS. It's an infrastructure node, so it's going to be put up somewhere high, and it's just going to sit there and do its thing. If you really want to let everybody know where it's at with the app on the phone, you can tell it where it's at, and it'll ping on the map in a specific spot. But as an infrastructure node, you really just want it to let it do its thing in the background. It doesn't need to announce where it's at and who it is. It'll be on the list, and it'll do everything it needs to do without being on the map.
Can you turn that GPS off from being seen, even though you have it?
Yes, you can.
Capability? Okay.
Yeah, you can shut the GPS off, but that's where I was telling everybody. I mean, you don't need the GPS, and it's easier to ship these because they don't have batteries in them, and it takes 4 18650 batteries that you can find all over the internet, cheap.
Right.
So, then we have the P1, all right, which is also this guy right here. The picture is the P1 Pro, so it comes ready to go out of the box, battery, everything's assembled. $42, $43, ready to go, and it's the latest greatest. The cool thing about the P1 is this is a joystick, so you can actually navigate through the menus on it with the joystick and go up, down, left, right, and at each one of the menus has a sub menu that you can operate with the joystick. All right, and then you can also send messages directly from the device. And with the alpha version of the software I have right now that they're testing, you can actually do free text, and it pulls up a little keyboard, and you can navigate through and type on it. This is the next generation of Meshtastic device, and it's the first actual device ever made specifically for Meshtastic. Everything else is a repurposed LoRaWAN or IoT device that happens to have the correct chipsets to be able to load the firmware. And it comes in different flavors. You can get it in the e-ink version. You can get it just the board, or you can get it with the OLED as a kit, and then print your own case and throw a battery on it and do what you want with it. And this is kind of the baseboard of that device. So you have your joystick right here. This is a user button. It has a Grove port, so you can actually add sensors to it. And it has a solar charge controller built into it. So you can plug a solar panel in one side, the battery plug is on the opposite side, and actually run this device as a solar node remotely. And It'll take a 5-watt solar panel directly into the device. And then let's see, we can go ahead and kill the screen. And then we have our little baby Shao devices, which this is an entire Meshtastic node. Everything you need except for a battery. It's got the antennas, the NRF chip, the ESP32 chip. Of course, this is Bluetooth chip, so you can run it off of your phone. And you can either add a battery off to the back of it, or it's got the USB-C port to power it.
That thing is tiny.
Yeah.
I would lose that.
Smallest Meshtastic node ever made.
How many watts does that put out?
The same quarter to half watt that everything else does. So that gives you an idea of the size of the radio circuitry in these things, because they all kind of run off the same chipset. So,
And it's remarkable with the limited power output, how well these things work and how far they reach.
oh yeah, the average device like this will get about 1.5 miles of open space.
Nice.
Well,
You start adding gain antennas. I think the world record right now is 300 plus kilometers.
Good God.
We're in
on the
America.
same-
Help me out.
Yeah.
I don't math on stream, but it obviously wasn't in the United States. But yeah, 300 plus kilometers, and that was mountaintop to mountaintop with Yagis, like stacked Yagis. But they got it done.
It's
They were
186 miles.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Well,
For something this small?
Well, that was they were probably running a G2, a station
Oh,
G2.
okay.
So they were probably pushing the full watt. But it still meant it was a watt or less, because it still met all the requirements. Now, I'm sure that wasn't ERP, because I'm sure they probably had a 20 dB gain Yagi pointing at each other. But so it wasn't ERP, but it was only a watt out of the device.
yeah, but I will say, even without the Yagis, though, height is might.
That's right.
Because
Absolutely.
I've got this one here, and it's not showing up good.
Yeah,
And
that's
I've
the
had multiple
rack.
planes fly over 31,000 feet, and you would be amazed the nodes I'm seeing from connecting to that node on that plane at 31,000 feet. I've actually hit a node that's 175 miles away from me by going through that plane.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not suggesting you do this, but this guy right here happens to fit in between the window and a screen on an airplane. Just saying.
Hey, it's happening all the time. I live 5 minutes, or I think probably 2 miles as the crow flies from the Knoxville, Tennessee airport. And let me tell you, folks, all the time I'm getting random people sending messages, and they're either in Kentucky or Georgia or something like that, over an hour or over 100 miles away, and it's because of that airport. People are using these Meshtastic devices on airplanes. Now, that being said, I'm not endorsing that, because something tells me a pilot would not be thrilled with that concept, but it's
but
happening.
I'm not
You'd
gonna
be surprised how many pilots have these in their windshield.
exactly
Ah.
because
I
the
was
one
say, I
player
bet my
I'm talking about, it's the same person, and it's a regular pattern when he comes by.
Yeah. And it's kind of neat how many nodes you can pick up from 36,000 feet.
All right, that's mine.
Huh?
I said, hi, that's mine.
That's right.
Especially with these at the 900 megahertz.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we do have several people joining. The numbers are popping up into the 30 range, which is pretty decent for an average typical stream. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Don't forget, we do have the super chat goal in place tonight. I need 9 more yellow super chats or better. Those are $10 or better. I'm going to give away an HT tonight. Somebody wants to win an HT. Y'all know what you got to do. So make me play that clip. I know Jason will love you if I start playing that clip.
Oh, yeah. I just don't need another HT. You can play the clip. Just don't give me another HT. I love you, but don't do it. Play the clip.
Not yet. We already did once for Dave, but y'all know what to do. If you want an HT, you know what you got to do. All right.
And-
what else you got, Dave? What other devices?
Well, that's kind of our lineup. Is we have the Xiao devices in NRF or ESP32. We have the indicator or the T1000. We do have the indicator.
I have one of those. I bought it from you.
Yeah, and I mean it's really cool. It's all touch screen. It's a little buggy.
that.
This was actually a IoT terminal, gateway terminal. For that was its original purpose in life. But it'll load the Meshtastic firmware. This is all the traffic that people around here are kind of chatty. This is not the way it comes. This is a case by Alleycat that she makes, and it's got a battery pack in the bottom of it so I can hold it up without having a big, huge cord around me. These are $70, $80. Really great. One of the things that I tell everybody, the first thing you do is it's got one of those antennas that will bend at a 90 degrees. And if you guys watch last night's live stream from the kids table, Vince actually took one of those antennas apart because we were talking about it. And the SWR, when you bend it, the SWR goes from like a 1.2 to like 9.9. It gets horrible. Yeah. So if you're going to get one of these, get a little SMA 90 and put either their antenna straight up or another antenna on it to get it to work right.
Wow.
But those are pretty cool.
Wow.
We got some business to do. There's a question for you, but I've got something I got to take care of first.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man. All right, let's.
Frequency Frontiers, good to see you. Huntsville, $2 super chat. Unfortunately, doesn't count towards the super chat goal, but asks, when will the T1000 be back in stock?
All I've been told is they are in transit. So they are somewhere between China and the United States.
Oh boy.
So they're in transit. And as soon as we can let you know as soon as they're available, but they're in transit.
But I will say, people are probably saying, well, Seed's having the problem. No, there's multiple Chinese companies that I deal with for amateur radio and actually dealing with the companies. And I've had delays 3 times this summer.
Yeah.
Because
they're working around it. I mean, it's the cost of doing business.
I got a question for you, Dave.
Yeah.
You said the system runs on Bluetooth, right? And everything?
Correct.
If you have a ham radio that's Bluetooth, could you run it off that?
No. Has to be an Android or an iPhone. It can be.
It was worth a shot.
Yeah.
It is important to note too. I don't know if you noted this or not, Dave, but you actually do not have to have an amateur radio license for these devices.
No, and that's what I was trying to say in the very beginning. Is it's the 900, the ISM band of the 900 megahertz band, the ISM portion of it, and it's totally license free. That's why the GMRS guys are picking up on these a lot because it's a toy that they can play with. I promote these as camping tools. If you're going to go out hiking, everybody tag one of these onto your backpack. There may not be cell service, but you should be able to talk to each other. There's a lot of other uses.
We learn about that camping up there at Monte Sano with all the constant.
Well,
Yeah.
and I don't know if
I saw the videos.
but there probably some people are going to find out that you can use your ham license and get higher power, different frequencies. I would not recommend it.
Yes, I tell everybody not to. There is a checkbox under device that says licensed operator. And all of us want to push that because I've got a license. So I'm going to push that because I have a license. We, as amateur radio operators, are not allowed to transmit encrypted traffic.
That's
and
true.
Meshtastic is encrypted. Even Longfast has a very short 8-bit encryption, but it's encrypted. The rest of the channels are either 128 or 256-bit encrypted. So when you click that licensed operator, it turns the encryption off. Well, everybody else is running encrypted, so you lose communication with everybody else who's using Meshtastic.
Don't hit the checkbox. Got it.
So don't hit the checkbox. There are uses for it, but you're not going to, unless you buy a Station G2 and hack it, you're not going to find a device that's going to transmit more than 30 dBm anyways, which is the limit. So there's really no advantage to checking the licensed operator box because you lose everybody else, and it's unencrypted at that point. And that's the benefits of these is 128 to 256-bit encryption, secure off-grid decentralized communications. I mean, that's the bag. That's what this is all about. And when you start checking boxes like that, it just turns it into another radio. And now you have to have other people that check the box, which we did see at Huntsville. One of the devices, I had a guy come up to me and he clicked the box, and he actually saw about half a dozen nodes, which means there was 6 guys out there that all checked the box. While there was, I don't remember, I think I saw at the highest point about 115 nodes on regular Meshtastic that was encrypted.
I don't know about with the seed, but I actually tested that just because I wanted to see if you check the box and if you brought it back on a rack wireless. That rack wireless is in my junk box now.
Well, all you have to do is
never get it. I could never get it to come back properly to the encryption. I mean, I might be able to reflash it and stuff, but
yeah, that's you. It's not dead completely, but
no.
After you click the box, the only way to bring it back to normal is to reflash it.
Yep.
And flashing's not that hard.
Oh no,
Well,
it's a pretty
no, it's
simple
not.
process.
super easy. I mean, I could grab a device real quick and show you. I mean, it's 4 or 5 mouse clicks, and it's done.
That board. The reason it's in my junk box is because that was a test board. Period.
Okay.
And I just haven't had time to mess with it. I've got other rack wirelesses. That was just the one that I decided out. You know what? I'm going to find out. Everybody's raving, well, ham radio, because you can get into the UHF frequency, because you can bring it down into UHF frequencies.
Most of these chipsets will actually go from about 400 megahertz all the way through the 900 megahertz.
But unless it's like a MCOM situation where you got all hams there that you can put it, I don't see the benefit of using it.
There's really not. I have yet to find, because with what we do now, we go on a separate channel. When we use our devices, it's on a separate channel and a secure frequency and a secure channel, right? Separate frequency, secure channel. We're completely away from the rest of the Meshtastic grid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's specifically so that, 1, we don't have extra traffic. 2, we're not reporting information out on a public channel. And it just makes it just us. And we can go with the 256-bit encryption because it's allowed. So yeah, that's when with Incom, you want to change it to a different frequency, create a private channel with 256-bit encryption. And it's actually been, we have had meetings with our club because we're using it for Incom, have had meetings with Homeland Security and the FBI wanting to double check what we're doing and make sure it's all on the up and up. And when we got done talking to them about it, I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, do your thing. Because it is not tied to anything else, right? It's its own little world and its own little bubble. One of the worries that they had was, well, can it crosstalk? Are you tying it to government equipment? No, it's personal cell phones, which are already probably hacked by foreign governments anyways.
Oh yeah, all day long.
And little devices that, I mean, unless China wants to send another balloon, they're not going to hear what we're saying.
Oh, good God, Daddy. Yeah.
They got balloons over us all the time. I got news for y'all. All the time.
Oh, yeah.
We just don't know it. As citizens, I guarantee the CIA knows it.
Yeah, I ain't gonna tell you nothing about that.
Mm-mm.
But the government can do a lot of really neat stuff, but the way these work, they even admitted it's extremely hard because it is a spread spectrum burst, right? It just kind of goes of information, and then another guy, and there's public keys and shared keys and a bunch of different layers of encryption, It's extremely difficult to hack.
Yeah.
They have a
Well,
hard
yeah,
time.
because it's hard for them, because I work in IT, and being 128 and 256 encryption, being the just a quick burst, it's hard for them to get a signal to try to crack that code.
Yeah, because it's such
question.
a short burst, and if it's me transmitting that short burst, I have a public key, right? And then I have, if it's a private channel, I have another key for that channel. Now, if I send a message and they listen to it, they start to try and decrypt it, and then my buddy replies to that same channel, there's 2 more encryption keys now that they're having to deal with. And I forget the name of it, but it's a special type of encryption that uses, like, there's an encryption key between 2 devices if they message. There's an encryption key per device, and then which is a public key, and then there's an encryption key for each channel. So there's multiple layers of encryption to make it really difficult. And GPMech, yes, that is a perfect starting point. You'll get this guy, right, the L1 Pro, in their case, which is perfectly fine. And P1 Pro solar node, if you want the GPS and the batteries right out of the box, go for it. You don't have to. You can go with the lesser option without the GPS and buy some 18650s and throw it in it. So you don't necessarily have to buy the top of the line solar node because it's infrastructure. And with that, it's a good segue. If he's going to buy these 2 devices, a lot of people want to put, oh, I've got a solar node and I'm going to put it on my roof, so it needs to be a repeater. And no, there's different layers, and this is where I kind of geek out a little bit. It's different layers of device roles, and each one of those roles has a different way of rebroadcasting. So the top role on the list is repeater. Now, a repeater will get a message and immediately broadcast it back out, right? Just boom, boom, boom. If you have more than one repeater in the same geographic area, then imagine I'm broadcasting and going, hey guys, I'm out there. And you have these are repeaters. They're both going to retransmit at the exact same time. And so they're going to create a collision, and they're going to create nothing but noise on that frequency. And my message isn't going to go anywhere. And because they rebroadcast it, nobody else will. So repeaters are reserved for very high remote locations, mainly to try and get, like, if you have a mountain and you have 2 groups, you put a repeater in the middle and that links the 2 groups together. That's really the only time you use repeater. Then you have router. Router rebroadcast, it has a timing mechanism in it that, depending on the signal strength that it receives, it will rebroadcast that a little bit later than a repeater. Then you have client. Now, same thing with a router. If I'm right here and I have 2 routers that are picking me up about the same, they're both going to rebroadcast at the same time, and they're going to create a collision. Then you have client. That's what 99.9% of the time you're going to use. My solar node up on the roof is a client because it's just another device in the mesh. It's just going to work on the regular algorithm and pass traffic without, doing anything. And so client. Then you have client mute. Client mute is on client mute. Because I have that solar node up on the roof, I'm letting it do all the traffic. It's rebroadcasting everybody's stuff and everything else. I can send and receive messages, but I'm not trying to rebroadcast those messages, right? Because the solar node's going to do that. So you do a client mute when you have more than one device. You leave one as client mute so that they don't try and rebroadcast at the same time. And there's an algorithm with client that works effectively pretty well, where it takes the signal strength of the signal that it received, and then that starts a timer. And so the weaker the signal, the faster it rebroadcasts, attempting to push it as far as possible, right? So If it gets a strong signal, it's going to wait quite a while to rebroadcast it. And we're talking milliseconds, but it's going to wait longer than if it got a weak signal. And that is because it uses flood routing. That is so that the further away device is now pushing your traffic even further, as opposed to bouncing it back. And so device roles are very important. How is the node database store the device? He's just.
Hey, Dave, quick question. So
Yeah.
sometimes people refer to them as relays. Is that relay the same as a repeater?
So that's a name brand. If you Spec 5 has the relay,
Yep.
and
Okay.
they boast it as it's a relay because it's got a little solar node and it can do stuff. That's
Yep.
a client. And
Okay.
like I said,
So
everything
that's just a client, not a repeater then at that point.
correct.
Okay.
Because you won't be able to get that little device up and far away and high enough for it to really work in a repeater or router mode.
Okay.
So it's a client.
And speaking of the relay, I talked to several folks at Huntsville, and we don't want to make this show about Spec 5 by any stretch of the imagination. They've got their place for sure, but I spoke to several people at Huntsville, and I have a relay out there, and I'm having the same problem that a lot of people are having with the relay. Mine's just quit working altogether. And because it's out there mounted to a post or mounted to a pole about 20 feet high, it's going to be a pain in the neck to pull that thing down and figure out what's going on with it. So
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed with it. I'm curious to pull it down and see what's happened with it. But yeah, something like that should not be designed to you have to take it down at any sort of frequency to fix.
Right. And my solar node has been up since Dayton. Haven't had to touch it. Now, just like every device, here pretty soon I'm going to have to yank it off the roof, update the firmware, put it back up on the roof, because they are making changes periodically. And some of them I watch the stream of on GitHub of what everything's doing. And there are some very influential and strategic changes that they make, but they'll let everybody know, hey, when they go from 2.6 to 2.7, that's when you need to upgrade your firmware, because they've made incremental changes. And then there's a drastic change. Like when they went from 2.5 to 2.6 is when they changed the type of encryption. And so that was a must-have firmware update so that everybody was able to do the encryption and handshake and everything else. When they go from 2.6 to 2.7, that'll be a must-have firmware update. The little ones in between, you can normally, unless there's a feature that you really want that happens to be part of that package, just let it roll. And those big firmware updates are about quarterly. At the most frequent is quarterly. Sometimes they're a little bit further drawn out. I know 2.7 will be coming out soon, and that'll be a must-have where they'll actually, the app on your phone will tell you, hey, the firmware is too old. You need to update it before you can use your device.
Okay, so you can't just say, I'm going to leave it at 2.6. I'm not going to touch it again. You're going to have to update a little bit more once in a while.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it becomes unusable.
Correct.
Okay.
It will still work. I'll admit, I've got a solar node on a 40-foot tower that has been running for about a year with no firmware update. And it still does the thing. It just doesn't do it as effectively as it should.
Sure. Gotcha.
But
So, a couple questions in the chat here. Buckle up, let's go. I love that name there. How is the node database stored on the device to reach a different message recipient?
okay, a direct message recipient. And what it does is, my phone's charged enough now. You'll end up, the nodes will start to populate, right? And every node that you see, like I said, San Antonio, we've got a pretty extensive network. When you look right up here, and I don't know if I'll be able to get it to focus, you can kind of see that there's a little green lock, right?
Yep.
That little green lock means that my device and that device have exchanged encryption keys, and it's now available on the direct message list. So once you exchange encryption keys, then they populate over here into the direct message list, and I can direct message any one of these individuals, and it is stored in the device itself, in the memory of the device. So if it's rocking and rolling, it's doing its thing, and you don't have the Bluetooth connected to your device, when you reconnect to your device, it will actually have all of that on there, and you'll see everything populate, right, once you connect to it via Bluetooth. So it's all stored within the device.
Excellent. Chris, Radio and Life, says great stuff, guys. And at KB5UTY, Dave does a great job explaining. Yes, he does. This is the most clear explanation of Meshtastic I've ever heard. So that's,
because I never understood it at all. You just opened up a new world to me, because I thought Meshtastic was my gnome sitting on my front porch here. You've opened up my eyes. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Frequency Frontiers is back asking, what are the thoughts of an external antenna on a node?
Okay, so they're different things. I mean, obviously, you have this external antenna, right? Much better than the antenna here. It's got a little dipole up here in the top of it, little kind of folded over dipole. But obviously, this is better. But I think what he's implying is, yeah, the next thing was a base antenna, an LMR 400. LMR 600. We have tested, and at that point you're playing the gain game, right? You're going to have loss through the cable. At 900 megahertz, everything is lossy.
Pretty much.
Try and keep it under 20 feet if you can, but then you play the gain game. And so you put a higher gain antenna, like a 9 dB antenna, because you're going to lose 2 dB in the cable, right? And so you play the gain game, so your ERP is actually better than it was coming out of this antenna. And that's the balance. We've got one on a tower with 40 foot of LMR 600 and a 9 dB antenna on top of it, and it works like a champ. That's the one that is on our repeater tower, and that thing just rocks. And because it's up so high, it gets about 15, 20 miles of coverage. And just works great. So, hell, even our solar node has the upgraded antenna kit, which I keep wanting to grab and show you guys, but I don't have one because we sold them. But yeah, we sell a 3 dB antenna kit for our solar node. Where, let's see, I go back to here. Window, this guy. So if you look here, right, this mount, actually it has the SMA mount for this antenna, and it has right next to it, there's a hole for an NMO mount, specifically so you can add either LMR 600 and locate the antenna up high, or you can mount directly to it and put a higher gain antenna directly on the base. They sell the 3 dB kit with the cable and everything for $13, and it gets you a 3 dB antenna. So better gain, better. Mine that I have on my roof has a 7 dB gain antenna. So yeah, do it.
So the minimum would be like a 3 dB gain, Mr. Dave?
Pardon that? What was that?
A 3 dB gain would be probably your minimum antenna you want to use.
Well, yes. Yeah. If you're going to go with an extra internal large fiberglass stick antenna, 3 dB or better. And you can even do a Yagi. If you really want to, if you're in a spot where you're so far remote from everybody and you know that there's an elevated node that you just can't quite hit, do the same thing with that solar node. Tie it to a 900 megahertz Yagi, aim it right at that other node, and get connected. I
gotta tell you before you go, Jason. We've got the chat is going nuts with questions and different things. One thing I want to do is note that Dave Hillbilly Ham had to step out, so I appreciate him joining us this week. We'll see him next week, and we've got a little business to take care of here. Let's do it.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man. All right, let's.
Look at you photobombing behind Mean Gene there. Ham out. You're a new one here. Appreciate you. $10 or well, $9.99. That does count towards the super chat goal, guys. We still got 8 more super chats to get, and we only have about 45 minutes to get those super chats in. So 8 more super chats that are yellow or greater, and I'm going to give away an HT here in a little while. So make it happen, guys. We're getting closer and closer. 8's quite a hill to climb, but we'll get there. Let me get back to the chat here. And that was just a tip in a tip jar. Didn't even have anything to say. So appreciate that. GP Mech says LoRaWAN Helium versus Meshtastic. Frequency Frontier says County has 5 nodes. He owns 3. Looking for 8-ish miles to connect the next node. That's awesome. There's Dave signing out. He's got to get ready for the Hamfest tomorrow. So understand that. Pepe's in the house, channel member. By the way, you can join the channel memberships down below. Just hit the join button, and we've got channel memberships as low as $2.99 a month. So that's one way to support the channel. Pepe asked, besides this video this video now, very cool how you explain everything so a dummy can understand it. Is there a good tutorial for dummies?
Not really. You can go to the Meshtastic website, www.meshtastic.org, and they don't start small, which is the big problem, is they go all the way into the nuts and bolts and deep into how everything works. And it can be a little overwhelming when you first start out, when you're just like, well, I just want to know what it does. And they go into frequency slots and all sorts of crazy stuff that nobody ever really cares about. That's why I try and do what I'm doing now and I do have a YouTube page. It's got 3 videos on it. One of them is taking our solar node from the box to the pole and all the steps that are required with it. Then 2 different upgrade videos. One is adding the external antenna kit, and the other one is adding a environmental sensor, because our solar node actually has a provision built into it where you can take a BME 280, I think that's the model number, temperature, humidity, and barometric pressure sensor, and it plugs right in, and there's a little slot for the ribbon cable and a spot in the box for it.
Nice.
And so those are my videos, but I am going to start coming out with kind of the dummies guide to Meshtastic, because if you build it, they will come. We did it at our county, and we went from the 4 original nodes to there's over 300 combined between 2 counties now, and growing daily. So don't be discouraged. If you have a device and like Frequency Frontiers that you own most of the network, just keep them up, because the biggest thing that happens, and I've heard a lot of people say this in San Antonio, is I bought a device, I turned it on, and I didn't see anybody, so I shut it back off, right? And they never turn it on again. Leave it on, right? If you don't see anything, leave it on, because the next guy that shows up, when he turns his device on, he'll see somebody, and then you'll see him, and then it'll just grow from there.
Right. Well, let me pause you right there. Otherwise, these are going to stack up, and we're going to have 30 minutes worth of clips playing here. So we'll start off with GP Mac, new channel member. Play the clip.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man. All right, let's.
Appreciate him joining the channel. Jason, tipping the tip jar, $10 there. Play the clip.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man. All right, let's.
Andy says in the chat, a super hat explosion. That'd be interesting to see a hat explode, but I get you. I get you. Then we got one final here. GP Mac back with the 10. What HT am I giving away? Thanks for the show tonight. Very informative. Well, first.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man. All right, let's.
GP Mac, appreciate the 10 there. We are now 6 away, 6 super chats, yellow or greater. Those are 10 or greater from doing well, about said an HF radio. That's at 10,000, an HT giveaway. I haven't decided yet. I need to let these guys chat and start cruising the interwebs and seeing what I can find here. But keep them coming, guys. We'll get the we'll get it going here and see what I can figure out. So,
all right. Well, I did see Ham Out had a question.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I meant to circle back there. Go ahead with that. I have 2 Meshtastic, and now I can send to my wife and see she gets it, but she can't send a message back. I have reset everything on the phone and the Meshtastic.
So, a couple things could be. One is sometimes a firmware won't load correctly, and it will act funny. That is the most common thing that I see is if something glitches in your computer when it's transferring the file from one folder to the other to do the firmware update, it could be a glitch, right? So that's step one, or that's one thing. The other thing is depends on how fast you're trying to do that, because when you start rebooting and resetting and updating firmware, it generates new encryption keys. And if those two devices have not done the handshake of the encryption keys, like maybe she's received your encryption key, but you haven't received hers, then it depends on what the error message is that you get. If she tries to send it and it just never goes anywhere, reboot the firmware or reload the firmware and try again. If she gets a undeliverable or an encryption error, wait a little bit longer. Sometimes it takes these, depending on the version of firmware. These used to transmit 3 years ago when I started. They used to transmit about every 15 minutes, right? Because of the density of networks that are being created now, they've changed the "Hey, I'm here" message to about an hour, right? So it could take, if you can imagine, for the nodes to fill in, it could take up to an hour before that exchange happens and you can actually direct message somebody. So give it some time. If it still doesn't work and you don't have that little green, if you don't have the little green lock, then you haven't exchanged encryption keys. If it has the green lock and it's just not working and it's not getting where, redo the firmware on hers, and then give it a couple hours and then try again.